If you've been upgrading your Ember app lately, you may have noticed something. Something in the console. Namely, all this yellow stuff. These are deprecations, and depending on where you are in the process, there can be a lot of deprecations. I didn't do anything special to create these. This was just making Ember 1.13.9. And as you can imagine, this is really hard to get anything useful out of this, because there's just so much. And a lot of these are being caused by libraries, such as, say, an old version of Ember data. So how do we turn this deprecation spew, that is a term that the core team has been using, into something useful? ember-cli-deprecation-workflow. This is a tool that allows us to block out the deprecation spew piece by piece as we work through it. Let's get started with it. This is an ember-cli add-on, so we can just type ember install ember-cli-deprecation-workflow. So it's installed, and then we'll restart our server so that we can get the add-on code running. And then in our server, we'll restart it. We will go to logs so we don't have to scroll down through all 1,000 warnings. And then we'll call deprecation workflow dot flush deprecations. What that'll do is it'll give us some code that we can copy and then paste into a config file. Then in our Ember app, we'll create a file within our configuration folder called deprecation-workflow.js, and we'll paste that code in. Then, when you restart, you'll see that there are no warnings. It's blocked them all out. How does it do this? So it has an array of handlers, and they're set to silence by default. And then they have a match message, and that can either be directly a string or a regex. And anything that matches that message will be silenced. There are two other possible values for that handler. One is throw, and the other is log. Log is what it does automatically. Let's see that in action. So here it's just logging out every time it has that deprecation. So let's try to fix this one. We'll search for ember.keys, the deprecated thing, and this is all we can find. So that leads us to believe that it happens in one of our dependencies. We can check that by putting throw. And so when we do throw, it will explode the first time it gets there. Unfortunately, this stack is not great. What we're going to do is we're going to turn it back to silence, and we're going to leave a note that's saying that this is happening in a dependency. One of the great things about this add-on is that it lets you make these notes in the code where the entire team can read them, instead of having to pass down tribal knowledge from person to person, saying like, oh, see that error? We don't worry about that error. That sets a very bad precedent. Here we can have this almost as a to-do list, and then we can make notes on each one saying what needs to happen before it's cleared up. This also means you don't have to be as scared to upgrade. Conscientious teams would often hold off upgrading because they wanted to be able to fix all the deprecations immediately. And that's gotten more difficult towards the end of the 1.x cycle. Now you can upgrade and then set the ones that aren't able to be fixed yet to silence, and take care of that as your team has time. So that's ember-cli-deprecation-workflow. It's a valuable tool in your upgrade process. Good luck, and I'll see you next week.